myself a break. That's why I came through. Yeah, yeah. One hit, two drinks. You know what they say about me. You and your friend. You know what they say about three. What else you got to do? And I'm about to lose my mind. Pour another drink, let me lose my mind. I ain't here to talk about the day I had. I came to make the night last. Light 'em up like dominoes. Throw 'em back, let it burn slow. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. Light 'em up like dominoes. Throw 'em back, let it burn slow. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. Okay, okay, I know it's hard to keep up, but that's okay. You can do whatever you want. Tell me what you got to prove. Yeah, yeah, let's go. One hit, two drinks. You know what they say about me. You and your friend. You know what they say about three. You got nothing to lose. And I'm about to lose my mind. For another drink, let me lose my mind. I ain't here to talk about the day I had. I came to make the night last. Light 'em up like dominoes. Throw 'em back, let it burn slow. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. Light 'em up like dominoes. Throw 'em back, let it burn slow. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. Having a good time. Having a good time. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with light 'em up like dominoes. Throw 'em back, let it burn slow. It's been a long day, it's too a long night. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good time.
Ladies and gentlemen, this just in from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Media moguls Floyd Wonder are now the richest men in the world. That's right, forget about Carnegie, forget about Ford, forget about Rockefeller. Floyd Wonder has the Midas touch. Sources say they're worth millions, some say billions. Look out, folks, here they come.
I don't really care, I'ma be a millionaire. Like, I don't really care, I'ma be a millionaire. Like, I don't really care, I'ma be a millionaire. Like,
Signs, motherfucking, I don't really care what you're thinking. It's so pretty, looking as high as a pheasant. Got the feathers dripping all around me. Wearing designer in my Gucci gold slides. Rocks telling the time with my clock, look at ice. I'm so pretty, I'm a divine motherfucking. Everybody wanna know me.
I can't deny the kind of crazy it requires of you to come my way. But even worse, say you put up your fight, though you're often in your right to go and lock the gate or get up and walk away. But here we are. With your cannons pointed right at my heart. remind of the things I say, multiplied in the back of your brain. I'm guilty and I'm wrong to the very things that I hold on to. When the vanity breaks, what's to prove anyway? But here we are, with your cannons pointed right at my heart. You said you're gonna ride down my every wall, however long it takes you. You'll break down my every wall, however long it takes you.
I almost got it perfect. Almost got it perfect. Good evening, everybody in Australia. Welcome to another episode of Reptile News for all you discerning reptile fanatics out there. I'm doing things a little bit different tonight because I've got. I wanted to test this Friday. I never ever want this whole Friday night technical devastation to happen again on this channel. So I'm streaming this out to all 4 of my channels. And the Reptile News channel. So for you that don't know, go to Facebook and find Reptile News. You'll see the Thorny Devil logo. And we on YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well. YouTube Reptile News and YouTube Carpet Pythons, as well as carpetpythons.com.au on Facebook. Well, we started a little bit early, a few minutes to go, and I don't really have. It's a Sunday night chat. I hope you don't mind. Let me just put the chat on so we can see what's going on here. Yes. So people have commented on the music. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did have to get a little subscription to one of these music providers that you pay a monthly fee to, or you pay a certain amount of money to so you can use the music. But seeing that Vinny's offered, thanks mate, to make me a little intro for the show. The intro is way too long. I think 2 minutes. I think 2 minutes 30. That's way too long for an intro. You need something like the news, like 10 seconds or 15 seconds of power, So yeah, we're just building the numbers, and we'll start talking about reptiles soon. I don't know if you guys just want to tell me if the sound's okay out there. For those of you that haven't seen this channel yet, sorry, we've been a little bit slack on the Reptile News channel. I was just figuring out all the bugs and stuff, and it seems to have been after a few weeks, it's been received a little bit better now. We've been talking snakes, talking pythons, one of my favorite topics. And it's been going all right. I've been in contact with people I haven't spoken to in many years. I've mentioned that before. I should stop doing that, saying I've mentioned that before. ACDC style. Yes, I know. I'd like to go rough like that, but then I get striked on Facebook. Then I get striked on YouTube. You should know this, Vinny. Copyright. Copyright is the way the world turns these days. So you can't use anything that you haven't paid for. You have to copyright. You have to tell people where you get photos from. You have to tell people who owns the pictures of everything that you post. Music, you need to have permission to use the music, and that's just how life is. It's like buying lollies, and I don't know. It's totally not the same. But I'm going to mention it in any case. It's like buying lollies these days. Everything's individually wrapped. I don't know. I grew up in a time when you could eat lollies out of a bowl at the pub. And you never thought where the guys were with their hands just before touching all those peanuts and stuff. I'm old and ugly and big, and I survived. So I don't know. Michelle, hi Michelle. Yes, I'll give you a shout out. We're covering a few things tonight. I did on the carpet python. So for people that are on Reptile News, on the Reptile News Facebook page, I posted I made a post earlier today on the carpetpythons.com.au because I'm a carpet python fan in Australia. That's about, I can't keep retics, I can't keep Burmese pythons, I can't keep any of those big snakes here, but carpet pythons, they come closer to that, and they've got quite a few color and pattern variations here. It's very varied, the carpet python. So I keep that. So I've got my other page, and I've made a post there earlier today asking people what can we discuss, and they gave me a few ideas. So yeah, the old beer nuts. Yeah, so you'll see I'm a little bit erratic with my my hosting style. I jump around. My mind's always racing in 15 million different directions. So yeah, I know 4 chords for old ACDC. They are Australian. I don't know, Scottish, Australian, band. I don't know. It's technical. It's technical. It's like a Crowded House not being really Australian, but we like to be things that don't belong. Like Russell Crowe, he's Australian, but he's not really. He's New Zealander. So I think that's right. Yeah, I think so. So that's a little bit of trash talk before the. So we'll cover a few bits and pieces. So I'm hoping there's a few questions on the page that was interesting. Reptile stuff in general. I think a lot of people don't. It's always easy to find stuff like even these videos. I've had a look through the Carpet Pythons page, and the Facebook just buries stuff. I don't know who's seen that. It's the stuff sort of just gets layered on top of each other, and it gets harder and harder to find something. So I had a look on YouTube. Seems to be a little bit more structured, and I've mentioned that before. So I'll stop saying. I'll try my best to stop saying that. And tonight I'm going to try and go the whole show without cursing. This is my mission tonight. So please don't do anything that makes me curse. All right. Christopher, Gray, yes, everybody's here. Let me just go back and see who else is here. Let me just say, Chris, Chris, I've already said Jason Deacon, Gray. Vinny, yes, Vinny, you're always here. Good seeing you, Jason Martin. Yes, I think I've said hello to those guys. So not so many viewers tonight. I think Friday night's show went really well with Troy, considering the full technical meltdown that I had here. And I really don't know. I think my computer did an update in the background, as Windows always does. Little update without telling me, and then that causes friction here with the software that I use for the live stream. So we have got a couple of viewers coming in from Reptile News, and yeah, welcome. The usual bunch on carpetpythons.com.au. I wish I could get rid of that .com.au, but I've changed the names too many times. So if you change your name if you change your page on Facebook, the name often, then eventually you only have so many times that you can change it. So I've went past that. Corey Gill, g'day mate. You change it too many times, and then they eventually just say no, stuff it. You've changed it too many times. Now you just have to be happy with the name that you've chose. But I've got websites and stuff like that. I'm trying to get around to working on the Reptile News website. I actually bought all the software and all the plugins and all that stuff to make it. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because I need to put some nice photos on there, and that I'm a little bit fussy with when it comes to photos. I don't like websites having terrible photos on them, Yeah, I was happy. Troy did send Troy. I did get your message, and man, I was busy rebuilding this, because I'll just go through all the scenes that we've got on this page now, so you understand how involved this is. So this is a welcoming page, all right, the welcoming scene. Then we've got this scene where the chat is. Then I've got a scene now for this scene where on the left hand side here, you'll probably see now there's a spot where I can have a guest on the left hand side. I bring you in with Skype. And then, of course, I've got the overhead cam where I can still see the chat. So I've made this specifically so I can hold stuff here, show you guys stuff, because I'm working towards unboxing a few things here. Not unboxing videos, just really looking at some technical stuff and some electronic stuff for reptile keeping. Then, of course, I've got the desktop so we can have a look and see what the questions were on the thing, so I don't have to go around. And then we've got the side view with our little ZoomEd logo on the side there. So I think it looks nice. For this, of course, now if I go to the desktop now, you can see me in the bottom corner there, and it looks like I'm looking in the camera, but I'm not really looking in the camera. I'm looking at the computer screen. So it's quite involved. Took a little bit of time to get that all up, but it looks alright. I like doing this stuff. I'm doing this stuff for you guys. I do this stuff for you, and because I like to look professional when I do stuff. Yes, Troy enjoyed it. I'll tell you a little bit about stuff that we're sort of just touching on at the moment, Troy and I. I didn't even know that he was thinking about doing it, but seeing that he's offered, we'll run with it. So Corey asks, hey mate, if you were to start all over again and build a herp room for pythons, how would you do it? How would you build the questions would you use? Questions, what material would you use? A linen shed or insulation, cool room panels, what flooring, racks or cages, incubation via fridge, etc. or natural with snake? If you were to start keeping tomorrow again, what would you do? I don't know. I went through a lot of phases in snake keeping. Depends on what you want to keep. I really would be happy now with keeping a room of cages, well decked out cages with fake rock and stuff. But it's hard when you've got natural enclosures, because it's hard to keep those things clean, And for me, I don't like the smell in my house. I really eradicated stink out of my house, and that's why I used to have rooms outside or separate from where I lived. Cool room panels, I like them, but you need to be able to have airflow, and then you also need to be able to cool the place down in winter, and I find it really hard when it's cool room panels. So you need to have a lot of vents and that type of thing, and then air conditioning inside. warm water. If I can recommend anything, the ideal reptile room, I think, should be a rectangle with your cages against the long sides of the walls, and then you've got water on one side, and maybe an area where you can put your rubbish on the other side. Hot water, especially a big sink, so you can wash your trays in, whatever, all the equipment. I like to disinfect all my equipment after, all my tongs and hooks and stuff like that. I used to like disinfecting that, and it keeps it a little bit easier, and then you'll have a quarantine area off-site in a separate room as well, or if not, in a separate building. But we can talk. I think we might have I've got a couple of guys that's got quite significant rooms, but the hot water, can't go wrong without that. And then what I'd like to do is, if you've got racks, and you usually try and get your hatchling racks as close to hot water as you can, because it's so many more little tubs. So the bigger tubs can be further away. Those you can just wipe out, like your big boa tubs and stuff like that. Same goes for cages. You put your smaller cages closer to where the hot water is, so it's just easier to go back and forth to the cages. But the refrigeration panel, man, I can't fault it. And I used to use stuff that I don't think you can find anymore. It actually had like a high density foam on the sides, and it actually had like a solid like a plywood on the inside. They were heavy as hell, but they were European made panels that I got for real cheap through a friend that worked for a truck company that built truck bodies. And the rooms we made out of those things were bloody fantastic. They've like Stroy enjoyed the night online. He has missed the reptile community. Yeah, I think anybody that goes out of reptiles, it's there's a part missing. Like you definitely miss it. I mean, I know I miss. I don't know. I don't miss the cleaning and that type of stuff. I miss the people. I really missed the community the last few years. I really did, because the last 2 weeks I've been chatting to people I haven't spoken to for so long, and it is so nice to be able to shoot a message and say, oh, a nice animal, or not even that. I had really good friends in the reptile industry, and I'm glad to say that those guys have made contact again, and we're chatting. It's good. Chorused. What is that? Audio is chorused. What does that mean, Vinny? You can't say that and just let it be. You just tell me what it is. And echo going on when you change screens. Ah, okay. It could be just one of the okay, if I miss the people, don't miss the animals cleaning. Yeah, no. Thanks, mate. Appreciate your answer. Yeah, we'll go into that into a lot more detail in the future. Caging. I love caging. I love rooms. I like designing rooms, and I like rigging them up and making them functional. Racks in a big room. You've got, depending on what the room. If it's in a house, the floor, and you've got carpet and stuff like that, you can sort of control the levels in a rack. If you've got concrete floors, it's hard to control the bottom, so you need to insulate your depending on what racks you need. I like to use everything. I like plastic. I really just like plastic. It's just, you can run that a big vision rack straight into your pool and just let it soak in the the pool water. You top it up with chlorine, and it just kills everything. That's how good plastic is. And the same with plastic cages. I tried to launch plastic cages here, but the demand wasn't there. But I think it might be a different story nowadays. I think people realize that I know what it is. I'll just move this, because I think there was the music channel, the computer channel that caused a little bit of echo then. So let's see. Yes, Corey, that's no problem. Vinny, other views, you already had a chorus. Okay. I don't know. We'll just won't change to the other views. I will, however, change to the computer screen eventually when we start going. It's 9:15. Man, time flies when you're having fun. But what I was saying about Troy I think Troy had a great time, and I think it's good for the soul. If you're going through real bad stuff. Oof, I saved myself then. If you go through real bad, tough stuff in your life, and then the reptile industry is something to fall back on, and it lightens the load a bit. Hi, Colin. Long time no see, mate. Long time no see. Welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoy it. And please, if there's any supplemental questions, ask. I'm here to have a chat. I don't know everything, but there'll be somebody in the comments that know if I don't know, and I'll say if I don't know. It's as simple as that. So let's go through some of these. Let me just change this. Let's see if there is an echo. So we'll change to this. This is the questions that came through. Here we go. I know. Here we go. That should get rid of that. Tell me if there's any more echoes. I think I just killed that. Patria Rowan, hello. So let's start at the start here. Deb Larks. Okay, I see a lot of people throw out eggs that looked dead to them, but are still actually viable. I can send you some photos of a recent clutch of ours that had green fluid floating in the egg, but the snakes were fine. Also, the correct way to candle eggs. Not everyone knows how to look for healthy veins and in issues with rolling eggs. Yeah, and you can sometimes have, and you can sometimes, I know what it is on the other views. I know what it is. I forgot to switch off the, I don't want to lose viewers tonight. Let me just hide this shit. So, there we go. Swear jar, $1 gone. All right. Said that S word. I'll have to replace that S with the stuff. All right. This is my training for when I have sponsors on boards and stuff, which will happen. I've got something to give away tonight. Hang on. So let's just do Deb's question first. Hang on. It makes you. We don't know what people are going through. So. I said, okay, so with the egg thing, people, when you've got, I used to just put eggs in a, you put them in an incubator and you forget about them. No matter how dirty, I sometimes, I did feel sad when I could really see an egg was miff, I tried to break it away, but I still left it in there and I just put it to the side just so it doesn't touch the rest, so you never throw out an egg. And if candling as well, I've candled beardy eggs. Sometimes lizards lay eggs that are a little bit, I wouldn't say premature, but you can't see the veins. And then a couple of days later, the veins are there. And you look at the egg and you go, this doesn't look like this is fertile. And then suddenly there's eggs. Even snake eggs, sometimes you can't see real defined veins on the inside of the shell. You just need to leave it for a couple of days. Don't throw them out. There's no rush. Just leave them to the side. Let those guys sit there and cook away gently, at a low heat, and they should be all right. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. Just have a look here. Who was here? Okay. Yeah. Okay. They're having a laugh. See, it's where people meet. Come and have a laugh, have a joke around, whatever. Just behave yourself, because I will ban people that don't behave themselves here. So, and that's just as I just like a little bit of order. So, Paul Portelli, I would like to know is how often do twins form in clutches? If I had two sets of twins in one clutch, one set died a week out before hatching, the veins just appeared. I was very upset the other set hatched and doing well. One is bigger than the other, but both doing well. I've found that twinning is female dependent. I don't know if any of you guys I don't ever use a candle. I can tell you about stuff with candles. So Kevin Miller, I don't bother candling anymore. Just into the incubator they go, unless it's like, I've got a friend that just puts eggs in the incubator and just walks away, and then when they start hatching, that's it. I don't know. I like to look at them the whole time. Don't open the door the whole time. You put them in the incubator. Make sure it's a glass door and just leave it and let the nice equilibrium do its job. Make sure you've got tubs that are big enough that the eggs don't die of oxygen starvation inside the tub. I mean, that's my biggest tips I can give. And do open them once a week at least and give them a little bit of air. I used to just blow over them and put back the lid and they were fine. To get back about the twinning, I used to have females that always consistently have, that always consistently had a egg with twins in them. Always the same female and different males. So I don't know. I think from memory, it is dependent on the female. I do think it's, I'm not sure. I mean, there might be somebody else that knows more about carpets than me, that could chime in and give us a tip. But I think, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have noticed it as well, the guys that are here like Deb and those guys, with clutches, certain females always seem to have twins inside the clutch. And, they're usually smaller and they take a lot of work, but they all start eating. And then you get these, some of them are they're just badasses and they just eat straight out of the egg. So, yeah, don't get rid of them. They're all good. Then, next one, maybe a future topic, but display enclosures and some of the newer accessories. Yep, I'm working on that. Display enclosures. Yep, and new accessories. I'll definitely be at the head of this. I'll be ahead of the pack when it comes to new accessories. I've already had a look at a few interesting things this week. That's due to be released in about a month or two, and I'll definitely be covering them here. As we progress, I want to grow this channel. So, and I'm hoping you guys will refer people. The more people get involved, the more fun it is. So, and I'm trying my best here to make it look like a professional show. I don't think there's another channel on the internet that really caters just for reptile keepers or people that just like reptiles. I mean, there's a lot of people that come onto my page and just likes reptiles. I want to do definitely Wednesday, Fridays and Sundays. I'm sort of, I don't want to spend, I feel like I'm not spending enough time with my kids, that's the only thing. I've got a family. So I'll try and stick to the roster for now for Wednesday, Fridays and Sundays. But I might just make it Wednesdays and Fridays. I don't know. I'm sort of just trialing to see when people are watching. Now Sunday night, I'd expect more people to be watching, but it's only low numbers. But it's still early, I don't know. It tends to pick up a little bit later, but it's not like we've got a special guest or anything. So I don't expect the world from tonight's show. It's a slow baby steps. Yeah, 3 nights it feels a bit taxing on me. If I've got help and I've got another guy to bounce off with or another girl to bounce off with, and that's one thing. I really feel like we've neglected the female reptile keepers in our hobby. I don't think they get enough airtime. And I really want to get women reptile keepers on the show and having a chat and how their perspective of things. We're so everything's just so male orientated and that's not the. It's very male orientated and dominated industry. And there's some women out there that's doing some fantastic firefight concert. Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. They can watch the show after we're done. My biggest thing is I want to give quality content so that people keep watching. Yeah, Friday nights and Sunday nights. I mean, I've got work tomorrow as well. I just like reptiles and I like talking about reptiles. So let me just have a look here. Let's quickly see here. The products and stuff, I'll get to that as soon as I've got new stuff, and I might go into some older bits and pieces like thermostats. I love thermostats. I love talking about thermostats because I like anything that controls power and anything that can save your animals from dying. I'm all for that type of stuff, and I don't think enough people know what's out there when it comes to thermostats. You get some really good affordable ones on eBay, and then you get some really great ones that are rubbish. So then there was an interesting topic here that Brookie Michelle Smith said. How about the amount of pet snake catchers pet snakes that snake catchers are finding? Most of them never get back to their owners. They either get given up for adoption or put to sleep. Another note on that is will people start to microchip and register the snakes when they sell them or buy them? Anything I breed and sell will be microchipped before it leaves our house. Although I'm only one person doing it, it may encourage bigger breeders to do the same. At least this way the animals can hopefully make it home. It really upsets me to know that parks don't care. Yeah, well, I've said it quite a few times on this channel. It's tough. Parks, I think they're understaffed, and you saw what happened with the fires. Budget cuts and that type of stuff, it kills the guys that are doing the groundwork there, and it's less and less officials looking after the reptile and the wildlife side of things. So, but I don't know. I always thought, we always discussed on Aussie Pythons how a pet snake in Australia is as much of a threat to the wild populations as an exotic snake, in my opinion. The difference is that an exotic animal like a corn snake would probably just slither around and eventually get eaten by something because they'll just stick out with that red body. Where something like a Centralian python or something like that could potentially interbreed with the local populations, and that causes a whole new issue. It will be washed out eventually. I mean, eventually that gets sort of washed out of the system, but it's still something that we need to we need to be careful about where our animals go. We need to make sure they don't escape. Yeah, microchipping, I agree. Deb says that microchipping is a tough one, especially when the animal's small. I did look into that. I mean, needless to say, that was in the late 90s. I was starting a master's degree, and I was looking at tracking chameleons around in their natural environment, and I was thinking about microchipping. And the problem is, they're so fragile, and dependent on changing their skin color. That when you put a chameleons get this real black tinge to them. Their skin goes black in an area that's hurt or that's been injured. And that could affect their ability to hide in the foliage and stuff like that. And I think, and he got knocked back by the human ethics or the animal ethics board. So it's a tough one, microchips, because they're so big as well. We have to deal. Remember, a hatchling snake is, even up to like a juvenile would be a very sensitive thing to put a microchip in there. The needles are bloody as thick as a pencil. Or no, not as thick as a pencil. I'm exaggerating there. Then we have debated the microchip thing a few times. Very hard to chip a hatchling. Yeah, no, we're not talking about just carpet pythons. Carpet python might be an option, but to put that into a little children's python or something like that, I mean, that would just be a death sentence. So, and then Andy Shaggy Sinclair says, he had knew a keeper that was keeping endangered species, and then the national park said, oh no, they need to get chipped, and then they chipped them, and then 2 of the 5 endangered animals died. So yeah, it would be good to be able to insure our collection in the event of natural disaster, especially if you have a huge collection that you have invested a lot in. Yeah, unless they come up with something that's smaller than that. But I don't know how big the microchips are now. But the day 20 years ago, man, those things were huge. I'm assuming they're smaller now, and they're not really made for reptiles. They are made for dogs and cats with thicker skins. So to shove that thing, I think what they said, it's under the skin. It's pointless to put them under the skin. So you need to put them in between the body cavity and the organs, in between that part of the animal. I'm thinking I could be just lying there, but from memory, that is vague. So take that with a hint of salt, all right? I don't know if I use that saying right, but in any case. So, Brookie says, I only just recently spoke to Joshua Linnaeus. He's Linnaeus, I don't know how to say his surname. He's a vet up in Queensland who said he could do it. Actually, carpets, he never brought up any issues. Okay, well, could be a thing, but might be cheap. I don't know. I don't keep snakes. I don't really care about that. But for you guys that do, I think it's something. It's just a matter of time. The government eventually get fed up from people not being able to go to houses to finding escaped snakes, and then then they change the laws, and then everybody has to do it. You know how it works. The few always screw it up for the many. Then why didn't he get them chipped himself? Yeah. I guess microchipping is only as good as a person performing the microchipping, but would still need GPS tracking before they were really useful. Yeah, you can't. That's what I'm saying. You can't put it under their skins. People just cut it out. I mean, you can see the wild caught snakes. That guys, the wild caught greens. The people just pull the end of the parasites under the skin out. Make a small incision. You just pull the stuff out. It's as simple as that. Microchip, on the other hand, be a little bit harder to get rid. Okay, so you get small ones. Okay, well, maybe something to look at. I know that it would be if you were one of the top guys, it would be good to chip them. I don't know. It's expensive animals, I think, might be a different story. If you got something that's worth a few $1,000s to ensure that they don't get stolen. I know a few years back, the Transvaal Museum, or the Transvaal Snake Park, close to where I grew up in Johannesburg, they had a break-in of their the guy stole their Madagascan ground boas, and Madagascan ground boas are CITES 1 animals. So all of those animals have to be chipped. No matter what, they have to be chipped so that people know where their origins are from, especially in South Africa. and they were literally, the guys were caught, and they could, and part of the prosecution was that they could read, the scanners could read the chips, and they it had confirmation that the animals belong to the snake park. So there's many things. If your animals get stolen, a microchip might be the way to go. Yeah, well, micro albino olive pythons are a good candidate for chipping because it's just so big. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. Especially when you've got a large collection of expensive things. So there's just more talk here. Few people just saying, okay. So, and then Emma, okay. Then there's one last one here. So don't. I don't know. I think I missed a question here somewhere. I think the original question was that can't remember. Emma, if you're out there, looking for incubators last minute. Okay, experience, but it's an expensive and time-consuming one. The amount of times I see people looking for incubators last minute, hatching. Yeah, you need to be ready. Oh yes, okay, I remember the question. The question was preparing for hatchling season. I think we'll have a show closer to when breeding season happens to discuss what you need to do in preparation for breeding season, because I've seen that as well. The problem is though, I see so many new breeders and young breeders post photos of their snakes mating, and the big old watch me, I'm gonna I'm gonna breed these animals and this, and they mating and stuff, and then they go a few months and it's dead quiet, and then nothing happened. Nothing happened from those eggs. But you still have to be prepared. I mean, I just don't understand how you can breed reptiles and not be ready. If the eggs are coming, even if they're not coming, even if you sort of look, the longer you do it, the easier it is for you to see if something's going to go down. But you need to, pairing's another big one. Yeah, so you don't just. You can keep reptiles, and it's okay not to breed them. That's one thing. I'm so every year, you see people breeding stuff, and you go, well, why? Why? There's literally no way to breed. There's certain species that just you cannot get rid of them, and I see guys making more every year. I don't know what they do with them. They must just sell them off to pet shops or to people that are just getting into the. I'm sure you can get rid of them. But a lot of times I go, remember, why are you doing that? Because there's just no, and sure, not everything has monetary value. Not a lot of people don't breed for money, there's a lot of guys that just want to try to breed. In those cases, yeah, okay. If you're new and you just want to breed because it's only 2 snakes that you have, but always consider that though. If you're making 20 snakes, baby snakes, hatchling snakes, sorry, you need to have the ability to look after those 20 hatchling snakes. And if you can't look after the 20 hatchling snakes, then you shouldn't be making them, as well as this whole thing about think about your pairings. Yes, but that also boils down to how many times have you bred snakes? Is it just a learning thing? It becomes easier to figure out your pairings the longer you do it. But I agree. You have to make sure that you're not just making snakes for snake's sakes. Snakes for snake's sakes. There we go. The Manise police is out again. It's like the guy that got done here years ago. They DNA tested his Egernia, I assume, depressor. That is, I'm impressed that I know that. I'm not a big Egernia, but I know Egernia depressor. There we go. I hope I said that right. That he said he bred and found they were offspring from wild animals that the authorities had in their DNA banks. Yeah, you can't pull wool over the authorities' eyes anymore. I remember at one of my probably my 3rd or 4th raid, the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning came in with DNA tests, and they went through some of the random snakes, the stuff that looked really like the real stripy stuff that I was working with. They took, I think I still have photos of me standing there with them, and they taking swabs and stuff. So they've got a big bank of information, and I think they were comparing, those days they were comparing it to stuff that popped up overseas in Europe, and so they do take DNA samples and they do put it somewhere for future use. So if anything pops up that they that they need to figure out where it came from, they are working on it. I'm convinced of it. Very, very clean, very efficient. The DNA samples that they take. I don't know. I could just see from my end of it, because I did some DNA work when I was at uni. So not very involved, but I know that their procedures seem to be okay. Go to low-level keepers. It's not moral, in my opinion. I don't know. You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere with a snake. And a reptile. Yeah, we've got quite a few people tonight. It's not so sorry. I got a little bit distracted looking at numbers here, but I can't look at numbers because after the show it goes nuts from all my people that love me. So I mean the low value animals. I mean I don't know. I remember coming into. I don't know. You guys would also know. When I arrived here in 2004, man, the prices were high. I mean you could get $2,200. Was that $2,000 plus 200 tax GST for Tanami Womas? What did Simon Stone sell stuff for? I think Chris Nelson, my mate, he told me that his first coastal carpets were like $250 each, and that was like 20 years. I can't believe that stuff was so expensive. Now the stuff that we paid a lot for, Jags and stuff, Jaguar carpet pythons. For those of you who don't know, RPMs, good old days. Those things are, they started out like 4,500, even more, 5,500. Ridiculous money. I just don't know if people have that much money to spend these days anymore. I don't know. How do you guys feel? I mean, I know that there's good people, a few people that make my good money out of animals, but I just don't know if I'll be willing to pay that much for snakes anymore. People are flogging sibs off and just calling them the jungles are hyper-bred. Yeah, the problem is that I said it on the last week's show, I think on Friday or Wednesday night show. It's really 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you could find guys that specialized in jungles, and you could find them, and they made it their life to make sure that those animals stayed pure and stuff. And then I think we might have dropped the ball a little bit with some of the stuff, that the mixes and bearings and stuff like that. I never, and it's something I pride myself on. I never sold one. Let me just make sure I'm not lying. I don't think I ever sold one sibling. I always used to just, I didn't want to go there because that's not me anymore, Yeah, I love the caramels and the hypos. They're my favorite. So yes, please, don't be indiscriminate with the babies the siblings that you make. Try and remember what the origins were. And if you're making Jags, make sure there is a large proportion of the clutch that come out like it's just normal looking snakes, and if you're using multiple gene animals, make sure that they I like to just use visuals. I like to use stuff that just makes a lot of visual stuff. Try and get to progress yourself to a point where your collection only consists of visual animals and heads. At least then the ratios go lower, but then you can still get high ratios of wild type looking animals. I mean, it never falls exactly how the ratios say it will fall. So I like the banter. Thank you guys for getting involved. That was about it. Oh yeah, wasn't there one awesome sib that went to Deb King? My memory could be off. I can't remember. Can't remember a sib. I think there was a albino. I think that one that Deb loved, bright yellow thing that slipped through the cracks. Some things that slip through the cracks. I think a pair of head for Murray Darling went up to a friend of mine up in Queensland, and that ended up in David Evans's collection, the Murray, the 50% Murray Darling hybrid. That went up there. I don't know, so many years ago. I think what you said in the earlier show is spot on. Be happy with what's in your collection. Close it and work on it. Don't aim for the world first. If it's not in your price range, just floods the market with snakes. But anybody can make a world. Anybody can make nice looking snakes. It just boils down to what you use in the mix, and what you spend money on. I mean, it's such a mad rush always. I get so annoyed because it's such a mad rush to making animals and to making the visual that a lot of guys just forget what forget that selective breeding plays a big part into refining the traits as well. Troy that ended up being a jag, the yellow and white boy. Ah, yes, that white thing. Yeah, that turned out to be real. Yeah, there was the luck of the draw, but I try to never get rid of siblings. I kick myself. It's a terrible thing. The fact that the jag, the wild, the siblings are just, they're not. Although you get nice ones, but the majority of mixed blood from jag pairings don't turn out to be too attractive. In my experience, at least I could be wrong. The show's doing all right, actually. I'm glad it hasn't had any drop frames. I think a Sunday night's a little bit different to a Friday night, where it's there's a lot more traffic on a Friday night going through the system, but the quality looks okay. There's a few there, so all I need to say, it's not on the Reptile News channel. People aren't used to the live streams that happen on there, or I haven't done many. It depends. I think YouTube's probably the place where I'd like to feature a little bit more than Facebook, just because it's a little bit more organized. Now, why don't we cull low quality animals? It's done with fish birds. Yeah, well, culling is, it's a tough one, because culling kills something in you. I did that. I culled siblings, and and I think that's part of the whole fall from grace. It's taking that much life. It's different killing a rat and a mouse and euthanizing them. But a snake is a hard thing to kill. Yes, I know guys talk about just put a shovel through their necks, but it's proven that those animals, because they've got low oxygen thresholds, they stay alive for a while after you chop their heads off. They don't die immediately. They're not like us when your head rolls, and we don't know if we die immediately after our heads rolls. We can assume that we do, but we've got conscience. But conscience. I don't know. Help me out here. But it's a tough one, man. It kills something in you, and I think it makes you worse. I think it, in my opinion, from somebody that's done that, I think it makes you a worse off person if you can do that, And it numbs you, and I don't think it's the right way to go about it. Just don't make them. Buy visual stuff. We don't need to buy siblings anymore. Buy visual animals. Spend a little bit more money and buy the visual. Rascals, what's a class low quality animal? Yeah, it's a tough one. This is a debate that we've had for many years. What's a low class animal or a low quality animal? Because we work on what we think is pretty. But somebody that's just starting with a reptile, I remember the intrinsic value in reptiles is not the way we perceive them. I think, and that's something I think that goes missing the longer you keep reptiles. You can't just appreciate what attracted you to them. And that's something that I appreciate a lot more now. I can see any reptile. Look, I still have a keen eye for beautiful for man-refined animals, that only hard work can generate. But, I still... If you quickly realize when you don't have reptiles around you anymore, then you realize what attracted you to them. Their form, their shape, the way they calm you down. There's a lot more to reptiles than just what we breeders and morph breeders think. And I think somebody mentioned that the other day. I got a message from somebody that says the industry's turned so much towards it's just all morph, mutation. I think we've lost a bit of the joy. I think we've lost what attracted us to. I think it's gone missing somewhere along the line. And I don't want to deep and meaningful Sunday night. Reflect. We reflect a little bit about how things are going. Delma family. You see, and that's the problem. I read. If anybody out there that if you really want to read a book. I think I've got it here somewhere. Let me just check. It's called what's it? Dave Barker's book, The Living Ark. Is it The Living Ark? I can highly recommend. I'll very quickly just find it here on. Let me just find it here on VPI Living Arc. I think it's a Living Arc. I'll show people what to look for. VPI Pythons. What was that book called? Who's read that book? Let me just check. Dave Barker, Tracy Barker, VPI. Who knows what book comes up? Invisible Arc. Okay. Let me just share this book, because if you're a reptile keeper and you haven't read this book, then I highly recommend you go and read this book. I really do think that. Let me just see, why is this being blocked? Okay, so it's been Invisible Arc. Let me just find a Google. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted, but while we're busy here, I feel it's my duty for you guys to share this, because I read this book. It's not a big book. Go and have a look. Go and Google it. The Invisible Arc by Dave and Tracy Barker. Tracy Barker. I'm trying to Google it quickly for you guys so you can see what it looks like. It's just a soft cover book. Just a little soft cover book. And I'm sure you can buy it on the website. So Vita Preciosa, VPI Pythons. Go online. Look for that book, The Invisible Arc. Go and read it. And one of the big points that they make is that we get so caught up in the next mutation and morph and stuff. And it's every reptile keeper's duty to keep at least one species that has no commercial value, but has as from a natural historical value. They should keep one species and breed that species to ensure future survival of that species. Not like we'll probably release them, but just in case. We never know. So the Invisible Arc, what it boils down to is the Invisible Arc is basically the collection of animals or reptiles in captivity that is sitting in private collections. That is the Invisible Arc. So if the shit hits the fan, that's the $2. That's $2. If the shit hits the $30, hits the fan in nature, in their environment, there is still a insurance population in captivity. And it was such a good read. I recommend that highly. I'm not a big book reader anymore, but that was such a good read for just to open your eyes again and to just realize if it's in our power to spare a species from totally getting wiped out in the wild, it's our duty as competent reptile keepers to at least work with one species that doesn't bring us any money. And I think that's a very noble cause. So let me just go back. That's my deep and meaningful for the night. Let's move on. Culling isn't for us unless animals are pain or will fail to thrive. Yeah, if something gets born with one eye and a brain sitting at its body, outside its skull and heart beating outside its chest, then you put it down. I mean, I can fully agree with that. We have kept every animal we have bred until it finds a new home. I can't bring myself to do it. No, especially when there's no need. I mean, even if you give it away to kids or like if they've got a real. I don't know. It's a tough one, man. It's a really tough one. Low quality animal care from the animal family. Someone's low class animals, it's someone's decent quality. It's a fine line. I've produced some amazing quality animals from an average looking one, and then produce better quality animals going forward from that. Yeah, it's possible. Now, 27, you can. That's what I started. I started with rubbish, and then I turned that rubbish into some phenomenal stuff that's never been reproduced. Our 27-year-old common Eastern Bluey just dropped babies today. Yeah, I saw that post. That's 27-year-old. I can't imagine how it feels to be a 27-year-old blue tongue. We have lots of wild type snakes still. Many are over 10 years old now. We don't sell off adults; they stay with us. Yeah, me too. A lot of the stuff that I used to work with was retired females that took up a spot in a cage somewhere, still had their feed and whatever. But I just couldn't get rid of them. I feel that if an animal's devoted, if an animal's given you their life, it's like having a female, like having a bitch and breeding her, and she can't make more puppies for you, and you just go and drop her at the pound. I mean, they've devoted their life to you, so I think we owe them the right to live with us and look after them for until indefinitely until they leave this earth. This is for you, Joan. This is for you, for the 27-year-old blue tongue. I think this deserves one of these. There we go. Hey, there we go. Well done. Well done. Yeah, I've got all the good stuff here. So well done, 27-year-old blue tongue. Does it have a name? Yeah, awesome. So I can't believe I can't find that book. Oh, it's a very simple book. It just says it's like a little cream-colored book about yay big, and it's got like I think 130 pages. So it's not even a long read. And then just read it. Just do yourself a favor. It's got all these awesome quotes in there from zoologists and naturalists, and Sir David Attenborough is in there as well. Every book like that, there has to be a Sir David Attenborough quote. So, go and read the book. Dave and Tracy Barker. For those of you that don't know, they are probably the world. They ruled the world when it came with world first breedings of species. Python species, and I think they've bred most of them. Then, of course, once they did that, then they started working with the mutations, and I think they're very involved in the blood pythons and ball python stuff now. I mean, it's just how it works, Charlie. So Charlie had her babies, 27-year-old mum. Well done on that one. And then Deb says they had a big Murray. I remember that Murray darling that passed away to the other side. I'm sure there's a snake heaven. I believe that there's definitely a snake heaven where we will get to see our kids again. I have to believe that. Yeah. So, if we got anything else here, does anybody want else? So I have to mention something. This whole thing with I noticed that not many people have gone and entered this competition for the ZooMed light dome that ZooMed Australia has put up for us for me to give away. So there's two parts to the thing. I quickly want to touch on that. The Barkers, if you don't know the Barkers, go and read up. So I want to get back to this. This is important that I mention this stuff. So for those of you that haven't gone over to ZooMed, so you go over to ZooMed. I'll see if I can find it on Facebook. I just want to show you guys what the page is. So I think there's only 4 people that have actually gone and given an answer. And really, come on, we need to get the numbers up a little bit so it makes it a little bit more challenging for these guys to win this light thing. Let me just go through here to the actual ZooMed page. Okay, so if you go to ZooMed Australia, let me just swap the view here. So we go desktop. There we go. Fancy, huh? Fancy. Don't you love that? So here's the thing. So now, very simple. Go over to ZooMed Australia. There they are. Can't miss it. Go there down to there's a few people that have given their answers down at the bottom here, Okay. And then, it's a trick question. It's a trick question. Some have got it right, some have got it wrong. Yeah, don't be slack. Yeah, don't look at the picture. Go to the website and go and have a look. Work out the maths. So let me just see. So let me just check. So I just wanted to show people what they stand to win, okay? And I wanted to touch on these. I actually used to use these lighthoods. In my opinion, I used quite a plethora of lighthoods when I had like 250 or 300. I think I had 400 bearded dragons. 400. And I had, I think, 80 of these tubes over the racking system. I use racking system, and it's for those of you who don't know, that go and find centralbeardeddragons.com.au on Facebook and go and have a look at the pictures there, because that's how I used to keep bearded dragons. So I used to use these reflector hoods over there. They're T5, so they're not T8. So T8, most of you are used to the T8 size fitting. That's a thick fluorescent fitting, the stuff that you have in your shed and garage and places like that. This is a narrow, so it's about half the size, half the diameter of a T8, and they emit twice as much light as a T8. Okay, and it's full spectrum, or not? I don't know if it's full spectrum. So let's read here. So I'll quickly read through this. So it's a high output bulb here. I can attest to that. So they emit UVB and UVA. Okay. And it's the lamps that go in them. So you can win this hood, and you can win
the lamp that goes inside the T5. So it's a full thing. So you basically just pop this guy on top of you can screw it. If you take out the light tube, you can literally put 2 little screws through the top of the hood and put your light back in and mount it to the top of your enclosure. And it's so flat that your snakes can't pull that off the roof of your cage. Okay? It increases it literally gives you 30% more UV because it's got a built-in reflector inside the hood. And there's a lot of you guys that saw, or not a lot of you, some of you guys that used to see how I kept bearded dragons, and this was the light to use. I see there's other brands now that claim, are they better, whatever, and really it boils down to how you use the equipment. There's no one's better than the other. Sure, these lamps are German, they are European made. I had a list of let me just go through my notes here. I did make a list of notes here of the benefits. So it's European made, so it's consistent quality. It's got glass sleeves made in Holland, finest quality glass. It has double the output of a T8, twice the penetrating distance, double the life of a T8, okay, at minimum. And large percentage of visual light, and there's no need to use 2 tubes. So you don't have to go and you get a UVA or a daylight spectrum light to inside your cage. This does all of it. And then also it's a slim design, so it makes it easier to mount it. Okay, so I highly recommend these tubes, and this might sound like a plug. Yes, it is a plug. And then let's just have a look here. So that's the Reptile. And then, of course, I'll post this link. I post this link to the digital UV index radiometer. Now, I'll post this in this. I'll make a separate post on maybe the Reptile News page. For those of you guys that do keep lizards, I know we're talking about all random stuff, but it is a Reptile News show. But there's always stuff that you can learn, okay? They were great for our bearders. Yeah, they're great lights. They're absolutely great. I won't recommend any other light. So that is what you measure UV with. This equipment here, that's a radiometer, okay? And you'll see on this, you can get these from, you can order these from Zoomit if you keep lizards. And what that does, it gives you a representation, it gives you an idea of how much, it's a UV index, what the UV index is below the lamp, okay? So there are zones where it's really high. So 8, 9, 10 on the left here, on the right here, you can see that's highly dangerous. It should be in the first 5 here, all right? And then if it's for bearded dragons, maybe 6 or 7. But you have to remember, it's just like heat gradients, thermal gradients. You have to allow your reptile to get away from UV light as well. It's just like us. You don't just stand out in the sun the whole day. You'll die if you do that. Your skin will get burnt. So reptiles need to have places to hide inside their cage. Okay, so have a read through this document. It's very informative. I'll put it on the Reptile News. Contact me if you'd like a copy of this. But this explains you the Ferguson zones, and it gives you on the radiometer. It actually has an indication of where your reptile is on the Ferguson zone. Ferguson was it actually has the herpetologist that did a study on areas where these animals occur, and they did measurements there. So they put together a guide of roughly where, how to interpret these different UV zones where animals where they and certain animals need different Ferguson zones to thrive. Bearded dragons would need from what I can remember, would need a higher Ferguson zone than what a Boyd's forest dragon would need. So go and have a look at it. Please go over to the Zoomet Australia page, go and click that thing, answer the question, and bang, they'll send it out to whoever will decide. There's only 6 people that have commented. Come on, go over there and comment. What can you lose? Win one of those tubes. At the moment, it's 1 in 6 that can win it. So let's get back to the show. So that's what you can win: the hood and lamp. And then I'll post this document. Whoever wants it, just contact me. And then, of course, the Invisible Ark book. Let me just switch over to where I was before. So let's have a chat. So yes, I missed that big bearded dragon setup of mine. It was phenomenal. And yes, those tubes are great. The barkers are really, there's a book. They actually wrote the first pythons of the world. That's another book that I used to own, and then it got stolen from me by another gentleman that I shall not name on this program. But yeah, I did. I think it's out of print. It doesn't get printed. It's expensive now to buy, but and it's a little bit out. It's probably a little bit outdated now. The Pythons of Australia. The second volume was Pythons of the World 2. I think that was ball pythons, or was that the Indo-Pacific? That was all the reticulated pythons, and then the third one, the Pythons of the World, all the ball python manual that they brought out. That was a pretty good book as well. What is your Elma AO? Yeah, I laughed my ass off as well. Why, Rob? It's one of my South African mates that lives in Sydney now. Welcome. How's that job going? So let me just check how many hours we've sat here. So hour and 11 minutes. I need to call it quits soon if there's no more. So Pythons of World Australia is a great book, about 150 now. Yeah. I think you find that it's more, because I don't think you can find it at all anymore. I think that's a reserved estimate of $150. You know, but it also, a book is what somebody's worth. Somebody's, depending on if it's a hardcover, if it's got if it's signed. I think the last few copies that they had on their website were sold with their signatures inside them. So maybe that adds value. I don't know. Oh, yes, the book. I went through this. I had a coffee, and it was finished before the show even started, so I don't know what's going on. At least I'm drinking lots of fluids these days with all these shows. So yeah, I don't want to bore you too long. No, they come up pretty often. Okay, well, I'll keep an eye out. As I said, I think there's such a push for books. I really think that digital media is the way to go. But that's just my opinion. I think people, I was hardcore, I haven't signed for $80. Yeah, I need that. If you've got stuff like that, let me know, man. Yeah, I saw you've got that complete carpet python. That's another book that I got stolen from me. My whole collection got taken. Man, out of print, a whole bunch of out of print stuff. But let me not go on about that. Yeah, so read the book Invisible Ark. It's a little bit wishy-washy, the show. I'm sure people will watch, but we'll have a big one again. I think Troy's jumping again on Friday. I'll try and do an early week rundown, or maybe a Thursday night. I won't go live, but I just wanted to do a little equipment test to see what the problem is. I hope it's not anything coming from out of Queensland. I think it was local. So because I've pulled in a feed from Skype before. It's walking into a room and seeing a library of her books. Yeah, I know. I like books. I like the smell of books. I like to hold books. But I think it's the new generation of reptile keepers. I don't even think they want to read. It's a rarity for reptile guys to read now, because you can just go on Facebook and find the information. So you have to come to the party and maybe release an app as a part of a book. I think that might be the better way to do it, and I think that might be the more cutting edge thing to do in an era where everything is digital. Everybody has iPads, everybody has mobile phones. I think books now, hard, tactile, I like it. I'll probably buy it. I see the complete Cover Python, the second one's coming out now. The incomplete cover. The second one's coming out now. I'll probably get a copy, but I'd probably just I'll flick through it and it'd probably sit on the shelf, Whereas a digital form doesn't kill trees. You don't have to, it doesn't take up space. You can just have it. You can have all your digital media on your mobile. I mean, the magazines, I saw how good it was to just download the magazine. It's a bit, I don't know. I just don't know if people want to read anymore. I really don't. So, yeah. So keep in mind if you've got anything, any rare. I like more recent books, but my taste is more German influence. Like I like the Edition Chimera publications, and I like that type of science. The sciencey journals, a lot of peer-reviewed stuff. I like that type of stuff. The more hobbyist publications. I don't think I ever owned many. I did own the complete chondro and the more complete chondro and the boa and the complete boa and the complete ball python. But that was more to just get a rough idea of mutations, because with what we do, the mutations sort of across the species, they sort of work the same way. Yeah, you need to. Have you had to charge your book because the battery is flat and things so? Yeah, but it's still there afterwards. Have you ever had your collection just stolen from you? You know, it's worse. Trust me. Especially when you know the person that's stolen it really doesn't read or probably can't read. You know, that's shithead. But in any case, let me not go in there. That's my rant. I don't want to rant about that tonight. But thank you for watching. The numbers were a little bit lower than normal tonight, but I'm sure people will watch the show afterwards. It's really just I'm glad that there's a lot more interaction. I like the interaction. Keep it up. Keep it up. Let's build a community here of reptile fanatics. We're already that. It's better. I saw my wife was watching MFs or whatever, Married at First Sight. This has to be better than Marriage. I don't know. I almost got sucked into that rubbish tonight as well. You know, I started looking at it and going, man, these people, why would go on a get married to a random stranger? I mean, we're desperate. Are we that desperate for ratings? I don't know. I'd rather fill my head with some information. You know, a lot of you probably know the stuff that we talk about over here. But then, it's just the start of things. Remember to go and have a look at the Zoomed. Go and come on. It's a free light dome. You could win a free light hood. And we'll get more stuff. I think that's sort of a test to see if there's really, if we can get more on this. So if we can let if we can let the competition, we'll be able to get, Zoomed will help us up with a few more things to hand out, Oh, don't say that. Don't say. Yeah, I was thinking you'd watch that, Deb. Yeah. No, don't waste your time. Go clean a snake or something. You've got snakes. Go clean them. They never stop defecating. That's a better word than shit. I think I only got up to $5 for a dollar swear jar tonight. So it's a bit better. Yeah. And please go and if you've got, I think the invisible arcs are only like $10 or something. Hold on. Yeah, smart ass, Andrew. Yes, this shirt, just so people know. Cameras invert the picture. Okay, so everything in the behind me there is the right way around. But normally that camera should be on the others. This camera here should be on this side. And if that camera is on this side, this shirt would be the right way around. But I get frustrated because if I want to work on the side where the camera is, then I want to work on the side where the camera is. I don't care if it's swapped around. Yeah, I might just print the shirt the reverse way around, so I can't wear it anywhere else. But in the studios, I'd rather than electronic. I also have my signed by author. Yeah, there's some big book collections there. Some big book collectors in Australia. I remember I went to go and visit Simon Stone years back. Man, and he had a whole wall. I walked in there and I was like, he had all the Reptiles magazines from when they started the print, and he had bound them in leather binding and a whole room full of books. It was sickening. And then it was just sickening good. And then all the out of print stuff, there was historical documents and prints and it was just $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 books, reptile books. And I'm like, man, unreal some of the collections that are around. People are as fanatic about books as they are about reptiles. And of course, then it's a bonus if you've got a kick-ass collection as well, So yeah, I mean, I do miss my books. I had a good, solid collection of books, It took me years to collect. So, but let's not dwell on the past. But I really appreciate everybody watching tonight. I'm going to call it quits because I don't want to. I take a while to switch off after the shows, and I like the shows to be good. I don't want people to come here and go, "Oh, this is rubbish. I don't want to come back here." So I think Troy and I will be covering something again on Friday. We'll let all of you guys know towards the end of the week. I'll probably touch on it on Wednesday night. I'm trying to get Roger Lester on because he reached out to me this morning about those granites, and I'd like him to come because it's amazing how much stuff we forget. Animals that have been in the hobby that we forget about. That was it around 20 years ago. We all stared at the same stuff, but you forget those lines and the things the guys were working. It's all of the pure lines have sort of gone missing, and the incomplete. There was it's a fascinating sort of stuff that got unlocked. First time I've spoken to Roger in many years, because we had difference of opinion, so we sort of stopped talking to each other, blocked each other and stuff. And it's just amazing. It's amazing to me how starting this channel have opened channels of communication again that probably would have never been restored. And it makes me feel good that guys are we're talking and we're interacting again, and the conversations there, because I think just the stuff that we talk about this morning was like, man, I forgot about all that stuff. I forgot about it. And everybody should know the history. Everybody should know the history of the stuff that we're working with now, because a lot of that stuff is just, I've forgotten about it, because it's been so long. So I'm trying to get the guys on board. Troy and I will touch on a few things. I'm not sure, we'll wing it until we have like traction, and then we're just building this. We're building this, and me and him, we're thinking about. This is now in brackets. We are thinking about doing a conference. In what capacity that's going to be, we'll still discuss amongst ourselves. Maybe international speakers. I think we've got a lot of kick-ass local guys that would just to get their name out and to just come and talk about what they're working with. I think we need to keep conferences in Australia. It's all fair and well. We have a lot of American experts and stuff, but man, we've got some phenomenal Australian reptile guys. Especially breeders and scientists in this country as well, that I think would do really well. I'm not sure if it's going to be just I like the idea of a mutation conference, but I think it should be a reptile breeders conference. I'm not too much into the natural historical stuff, or I am into the natural historical stuff, but my interest lies in captive husbandry. And captive husbandry for me is very important in any species, to understand how they work. And if guys are making advances in our understanding of how to keep them right, then I think it's something that needs to be shared, without payment. I don't know. I don't mind paying guys, but it's something that gives you a little bit of airtime and make people sit up and go, gee, I didn't know that, So we'll talk, we'll discuss it. Still in its early. He probably didn't want me to say anything, but he's probably watching, and I don't think he'd mind, But it's something we're toying with, but we'll need the support of everybody. We'll probably do it in two different states, and we'll make it affordable, and we'll make it worthwhile, worth the time, and just the networking that happens at these things are just outrageous, crazy, Ben Adams says, in the States, their fish clubs have been breeding programs from wild forms as part of the grading award, ensuring the true genetics of the wild form is in the hobby, and also helping their departments to have restocking numbers. Interesting how the authorities work with them, and the structure of the club is making members have the provide a batch of wild genes in exchange for an award prize, whilst providing another generation of wild stock for government use and the hobby. Love the show, mate. Thanks. I'm sorry it was a bit late running in. That's fine. I don't keep track of who comes and who goes, but it's good to see the guys here. Thanks for watching. I saw today that the Department of Environment in Victoria actually collected some little fish. I can't remember what they were called, from streams from these areas where these fires were, and I thought that was interesting, that they collected fish for like insurance populations. I don't know, but it would be fantastic if we can get that type of support, with species that are not readily available, and but I don't know. A lot of us keepers get so brainwashed with the money side of things that, and myself included, man, I love making money from reptiles, but at the end of the day, we sort of need to keep an eye on those things that are failing in nature, because we are destroying the environment. We need to look at the little things, the little dull brown things that are running around that nobody cares about, that could go missing tomorrow or the day after because they cleared out their habitat. I like the way industry worldwide is moving towards more animal enrichment and what is beneficial for the animals, instead of churning out more combos from a draw tub, which also does have its place. Yeah, Commercialization. I think I do listen to another show where they talk a lot about environmental enrichment and stuff like that. And I think Tom Crutchfield and the way they do their crocodile monitors and monitors are different. I think monitors have always been a little slightly more intelligent than your standard bearded dragon. That's why they're at the top of their food chain. And then of course the big pythons. I think there's definitely something to say about enriching their environment. Whether or not they're smart, I don't think they on mammalian levels, but I do think that there's definitely something to environmental enrichment. I mean, if you full scale commercial, then that makes it hard. But if you can use, I think we should just try and give them as much as we can to make their life in captivity as tolerable as possible. So yeah, I agree with that. I don't mind the big old. I love looking at some of these wild-like creative cages that the guys. Well, we can never provide animals, even if there's naturalist. I mean, it's a naturalistic. People get so carried away that they're providing a naturalistic. I think they confuse natural with naturalistic, which is totally different. We can never supply reptiles with what they get in nature in captivity. We can try, we can get close, but I think it's a totally twisted idea that we can build a cage that supplies them everything that they get in nature. We just can't. Diet, I mean, the diet in nature is so varied. I mean, I used to catch agamas with bee stings in their mouth, and every book that I read said, "Oh, don't feed bees," but their mouths were littered with bee stings, and they were totally immune against it. I know, yeah. I know that they flick their tongues and they go crazy when they put stuff in their cage. But, there's definitely that is very simple to do that. Even I've even done, like egg crates and toilet roll tubes and anything that smells a little bit different. I mean, even blue tongues does that. Even blue tongues go, what's this? What's this in my cage? From a sterile environment to that, it's already a little bit something to keep them busy. How long it keeps their minds busy, only they'd be able to tell that. Can be as simple as adding a toilet roll. Yeah, there we go. Just as I said that, you said that. It's funny how some people just think alike. The longer you do this, I was texting somebody the other day, and as he was saying, I was saying something. I wasn't reading his comments, but as he said it, I was saying it. I was like, man, it's crazy how alike people think that's been in the hobby for X amount of years. So I think we should try and give them as much stimulus as we can, but I don't think this idea that we can provide them a cage that they just, like it's fully bioactive and blah, blah, blah. Man, look at it. It's clever marketing. It's very clever marketing. Yeah, it's probably got its benefits, but it's not nature. It's not nature. I can guarantee you that. It's simple as I can turn a non-feeding animal into a savage beast. Yeah, I did that with small baby hatchling pythons. Put something in their hide, tight-fitting hide, and suddenly they turn into eating machines. So look, I want to head to bed. Thank you for those of you that stuck out for the last hour and a half. Probably a bit of a chatty show, and I'm still working on the format. We'll get the format rolling. I hope you like the way that the new page was set out. I think I did all right. I need to work on maybe do some different transitions and stuff, make it a little more visually appealing. But I think it's better than anything else in that Reptile live stream segment at this stage. Cans, yeah, Reptile ML3 monitoring, our monitor. I can't wait till I don't know. We'll have to see what happens to those monitors. I don't know. I think there's eyes on those animals, and I think it will become hard to get the permission to get them in the other states. Very hard. So everybody, thank you for joining in tonight. Have a safe week. Have a good night's sleep, and don't do anything that I wouldn't do. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys